All right, what'd you make of it? The first half, I got to say, was a hard watch. It really was. Really safe with the ball, a lot of numbers back, a lot of skill errors, free kicks off the ball. It felt like there was no flow in the game. Now, not that the coaches really care about flow. They just want to win, but that's what it looked like. Defensively, pretty strong both sides, but a real lack of dare with the football, Kingy, until it opened up in the third quarter.
Can I make a long-range comment? I can see this Melbourne team, and we touched on this, I reckon, fleetingly a couple of weeks ago. I can see this Melbourne team merging again. So the older players, there's a bracket of older players that are, Max Gawn's, what's he, 33?
Yep.
32? I can see him hanging on for another couple of years whilst these young kids get another 40 games in them, and I can see them coming together in 2027 for a real tilt, a la the Collingwood version right now.
So that's what people have asked, who would you rather be, Melbourne or Carlton, when they were both struggling? I said, well, Melbourne, because there's a group of 23 or unders that are really strong.
And I love them. I think that you look at how Lindsay moves and how Langford moves. Now, Langford made a few mistakes by foot last night. He wasn't the best version by foot, but gee, they're getting 20 plus already. Like, I think the hardest thing when you're a young player is to
find the footy.
Get your hands on the ball. No, you can do anything with it normally, but you can't get it. And then by the end of your career, you can get it, but you can't use it. It sort of flips on you. But I like what Tholstrup was able to do. He didn't touch the ball a lot, but he just plays with an anger. Windsor's what he is. Bowie at half-back's been, and we did him in the pre-game. And I said at the start of the game, I think this guy's winning the Melbourne Best and Fairest.
Did you?
Right now. He's leading the Best and Fairest. And
well, after the game, Max Gawn said he would be.
He said the same
winning
thing.
The Best and Fairest.
I was very happy to hear it.
No one mentions what you get right.
Well,
they only mention.
I appreciate the Fireball feedback.
But I didn't hear that because
you
I was
wouldn't have. You had your tie on the other mob.
I was on the main channel.
Well, the cheap channel.
The one with the biggest audience.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you don't release yours, so it's hard to know.
Yeah, well, why would you tell people? 32 touches for Bowie. I think he's the story at Melbourne this year. Everyone's talking about Cozzy Pickett and what he's done centre bounce and forward of centre, but I think Bowie's been a revelation for them. He's now allowed Christian Salem to play a lesser role. He's almost gone to back pocket now, and the high half backs are Windsor and Bowie. I think it's
McVee back in helps as well.
It does,
he's going to build flexibility with Rivers. The best thing about Melbourne last night was that they got their senior players, the highest paid stars of the side, into some form. Oliver looked horrendous until halftime.
Oh, yeah.
Horrendous.
He had 3 kicks.
5 touches after 5 kicks last week. 70, low 70s game time. They're clearly worried about his conditioning and his the ability of the opposition to expose him the other way. But the third quarter, he absolutely turned one on. So the third quarter from Melbourne, some of the numbers were extraordinary. Oliver had 13. He had 5 clearances in that quarter alone. And what about their tackle numbers in the third quarter? So Goody must have just wound them up like you wouldn't believe at halftime. They've come out led by Jack Viney. They've laid 28 tackles to 9 in the third quarter. Now they're forward 50 tackle numbers, and they got a couple of goals out of that, 12-0.
Yeah,
and Viney laid 6 tackles
for the night with the forward 50. It was about 18 or something. It was close to 20 anyway.
18-8.
Yeah. So last week they had 27 forward 50 tackles. This week 18. So I think the handball game is giving them time to get organised and get pressure on in the forward half. So they've become a different version of themselves. This is why I think and I know it's against lowly opposition, right? So we've got to temper what we're saying, but they are evolving. They are playing a different brand of footy, and it's going to be clunky. They're going to have halves like that along the way, but I think he has to do this. He has to go through these teething pains. Simon Goodwin, they wouldn't want to be where they are with the wins losses as we sit at round 7.
Are they a finals contender, or is it a reset year or a merging year, to use your term?
Yeah, well, they would never tell us that, but they've got no other option but to do this, and I can't wait to talk to Cal Toomey later on to have the Petrarca Oliver discussion. Now, can you have the merging of your list if you don't have those two? And you get draft picks for them, and is it worth doing that this year or not?
And the Pickett one's the other one.
Van
Rooyen, they have to get into form. I'm telling you, Petty is not the long-term option as a key forward down there. He's not competitive enough.
But you don't have to cheer for him to fail. Like
no, I'm just calling as I see it. He's not a long-term option forward. We've seen it. We've seen it over 12 months. If you're going to play Petty, he is your replacement for May and Lever. He has to be. He's your key defender, interceptor, which is where he's played his best football. Van Rooyen is your target forward.
So he hasn't had the spoil of playing in this new handball system.
No,
he really hasn't.
Even Fritsch looked better last night.
Fritsch looked good last night. I was rapt that he was able to get his hands on the ball, and he still toasted a couple having shots again.
Yeah,
I just think if you're trying to warm yourself back to the group and get some trust back, and you just got to hit a couple of obvious targets instead of taking the low. I'll tell you, the biggest learnings from last night for me was when Max Gawn went off the ground, 15-minute mark of the last quarter, it all fell apart.
4 goals.
And they looked rudderless. Now, is that Melbourne without Max, or is that an obvious statement? People will say, "Oh, of course, yeah, it's Melbourne." But when can you take Max off now? And so, how much do you have to lead by before you can rest Max?
Because I was saying during the guys, get him off. Like, get this guy off. He's done so much heavy lifting for you for 4 years. He never gets a spell. Get him off. And they did take him off, and then the game falls apart. The guy's 34 in December. So there needs to be life after Max, and they need to start thinking about that now.
I think it was good what they did.
So do I.
But you can't. So if you lead by 25 points next week with 10 minutes to go, can you take him off?
Or can he come off at critical stages where he needs a rest late in the third term? It appears like he can't. May was also off as well, a bit sore. So life after definitely Max.
Well, not even life after Max. Life with Max, right? So life with Max. So next week, who do they play next week? They play West Coast. Who do they play the week after that?
It gets a bit harder for them.
So the week after that, 4 goals up, 15 minutes into the last
Brisbane,
quarter. Can you take him off? Can you rest him? Can you manage his minutes? I don't think you can.
Hawthorn the week after.
I don't think you haven't got the luxury anymore of managing his minutes because of what you're seeing there.
Hawthorn then Brisbane.
Oh, that's a tough stretch, isn't it?
And Brisbane at the Gabba on the Sunday of round 10. Richmond. What did we make of it?
Well, I want to first just dip our little to their senior core players.
Yeah.
This is a tough sledding at the moment. I just love Tom Lynch. That was a great matchup last night with Stephen May. They went toe-to-toe. It was a standing 12-rounder, split on points, right?
Not quite physically where they both were probably 5 years ago.
Exactly
and you could see that,
Spot
but
on.
you do not lose the smarts of the game.
It was like two old boxers that have fought 50 fights. They're just starting to get rolled in the last couple. They're 48-2, right? And they both come off the back of 2 losses. And they sort of, the muscle memory's there.
Yeah.
But
the competitiveness is there.
It doesn't happen in real time like it once did. But no, I take my hat off to him. They're a different team when he's invested in the game like that. 3 goals, 3. Look, he got a couple late when, in junk time effectively. But I just thought his ability to straighten them up has to be addressed. I thought Hopper's still fighting hard.
He's looking better. Hopper.
Hopper's moving better, isn't he?
He's turned the corner a little bit, I think, just with his sideways movement. He's very good in traffic, Jacob Hopper. So I think last week he was excellent against Gold Coast, and he's pretty solid again last night.
Really hard to stand at the front of the group when you're captain if you're not performing. And I just thought Nankervis and Gawn last night was one of those classic standing toe-to-toe, let's go ruck contest that you don't get every week, but when you get one, it's good.
And he had a crack, Nank. He's not the player that Gawn is clearly, and Gawn takes the points, but Nankervis still had 8 clearances.
Yeah. He was good, Nank, particularly first half. He set them up to he basically set them up to have a 3-goal lead early, and they just couldn't convert going inside 50, and they made some young mistakes.
Free kick off the ball, there's a goal. Vlosten kicked one straight to my man Perez. Another one, there was a 50, so they gave up some cheap goals.
They did, but they didn't cash in with their own ball-in-hand stuff. So there's work to do. They're miles from they're miles better than what we thought they'd be. Look, I thought they'd struggle to win. 2.5 was the line at the start of the year, remember?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know if they'll get to 3. I don't think they'll get there. And you said, what, they won't win 3 games? I said, I don't think so. They're 2 after 6 weeks. So I'm just really proud of it. I tell you, I'm in love with Trainer.
Yeah,
Trainer looks to me like a serious player.
Yes.
6 intercepts last night, 4 of those marks. And I just love the way that he just is so composed and controlled for a young player. And I know everyone's talking about our man Lalor, and rightly so. He does move like a star. But I just think Trainer might be the sneaky pick of the rest.
With their ball movement and how they were, to be honest, really boring with their ball movement. Even off turnover, their initial instinct is to go wide and slow the play down. Off turnover, go fast. Trainer's one that is prepared to pick it off, and he's a good ball user, good intercept marker. But Lawler's something else. He really is. I'm captivated by just what a good footballer he is, and that sounds so simplistic, but he makes the right decisions at the right time with the right option. There's not any ounce of selfishness in him. He's already got that team first aspect. And so he glides in the air, like down the target down the line that he is. We saw that in his first game. So, no, there's a lot to be positive about. I'd love to see a bit more from Mansell. I think he's one player with
First week back
enormous upside.
Yeah,
it's not as if he was injured, so he's still. It's a tough position that he plays in a side that's struggling. I think he's going to be a player.
They've got to do more with Jaden Short, I reckon. There's a tool there that they've got to get more out of. Senior core player, does he do enough at heart? Is he doing enough in that role that he's currently playing? 3 score involvements. That sort of player needs to be having 6 or 7. So
and the other one that you mentioned off air is Brown. What's happened to his career? Why he is the sub in this side? Like he can play forward, he can play lockdown defence. He uses the ball well. He's tough. Why is he the sub? What's happened to his career at the moment where? Of all the options, he's the sub in a side where he should be really emerging. So Tigers fans, 0433 98 11 16, but didn't give up, had a crack, defended really strongly, just lacked polish.
If you're barracked for Richmond, you're going again next week. And I think that's Adamuse's challenge, is to make sure that the fans see enough to keep coming and are part of the journey. You just want to be part of it all, part of the journey.
Just pulled up our over-unders, actually.
Oh, yeah?
On Facebook.
What do we got?
You and I both went over for Adelaide, and the first comment on Facebook, so the top comment, is, can someone explain to me why these two and anyone else think Adelaide will win over 11 games? I have nothing against the Crows whatsoever, but I look at their side and their backline looks like one of the weakest in the league, and their midfield is thin. Adelaide, you happy with Adelaide over, Kingy? Where we are right now?
I'll tell you, we'll take that feedback on board. We like all feedback.
You went under 2.5 at Richmond, though.
Yeah, I did. That's in real strife.
You weren't alone.
Someone said they wouldn't win a game.
What did I stuff up? I stuffed up. We both stuffed up.
Long way to go. I'll tell you what, Steve's getting into us on the text machine here.
Is he?
What we're saying, Steve, is that we found the New Zealand national anthem amazing last night. We're not seriously denigrating the Australian national anthem. I think there are better options for the national anthem, but you're right. Today's not the day to be doing that.
Yeah, that was my bad.
So just Steve, just relax a little bit, mate. Just chill a fraction.
All right.
And don't bother sending any more texts that call us filth.
So Hoyne on Tuesday night said that Brown is the 55th highest rated player in the competition. Is that right? Tom Brown. And they started him as sub.
Hang on, is that right?
Well, you check. You got it where it is. I'm getting the triple nod from Sammy. Hoyne, Tuesday night, Sports Day with Jared. Tom Brown, 55th highest rated player in the competition.
55th?
55th.
I don't
And he's starting as a sub.
I don't believe that.
All right, give us a call on the Mimosa Homes open line. I got a little game I want to play with you next.
Like games?
And also In the Gun is coming up shortly, as well as the agenda. Guest this morning, the Port Adelaide captain is Connor Rosie.
Who's the best of the Melbourne kids? That's a great question.
Langford.
Oh, there you go. Over.
Langford is the best by a mile. He's going to be
still Windsor.
Something else.
Still Windsor for
you?
me.
No, yeah. Langford for me.
Wait till he gets in at centre bounce.
Just a little game for you.
Yeah.
2 options. You can only pick one.
All right.
All right?
Right, okay.
Sam Lalor or Harley Reid?
Ooh. For the length of their career.
Yep. Who would you take?
Harley Reid.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm taking Lalor.
He looks good. The other kid will settle down. He's just a bit he's a bit anxious at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm not
I
doubting.
think he's going to be a top. He does some
I'm
things.
not doubting that.
Yeah.
Even though I have been critical of his actions and his preparation, I've always said in 4 to 5 years the product is going to be.
So who are you taking?
I think I'm going to take Lalor.
Give me some reasons.
I just think he is a better ball user, and he has a bit more nuance and smarts in his game, and I think he appears to be better overhead. Harley is a very good wrestler, one-on-one player, do that, but just the way that Lalor floats through the air.
Some of his handballing.
He's
a Shane Edwards. He's a handball that you don't recognise at the time, but they put their teammates into clear space.
A couple of others for you.
Oh, I like your game. Good game. Have you stolen this from somewhere? Or is this yours?
I've stolen it. Gorn or Cripps?
Gorn or Cripps? Gorn. How could you go past Gorn?
Well, Cripps has got a couple of Brownlow medals.
Yeah. Well, Max is.
It's okay. I'm just.
Have we recognised Max enough?
He's got 7 All-Australians, so inside the All-Australian meetings, those sitting around those tables, I'd have to say yes. I think it's 7 out of the last 9 years.
I'd like to randomly just bring up people's top 50s and top 10s and see where Max is in those.
I think Max has had a fair amount of praise, and rightly so.
Yeah, but has he had the right
Been
level
an
of
All-Australian captain.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that necessarily.
Just from your average footy fan.
For the All-Australian team, I don't know.
What?
Well, you only got 10 ruckmen to choose from at any given time, regardless.
18.
Oh, come on, man.
Okay, this is not a segment to sort of debate the All-Australian selection.
So
it's just
I'm
a
just
big one.
wondering, if I said to you, give me the top 5 players of the last decade, would you have Max in it?
I'd have to think about it and go back. It's a bit. We want to put some work into that, but it'd be around the mark. Yes.
Well, around the mark. That's my point.
Darcy Cameron.
Around the mark.
This is my segment. Darcy
sorry.
Cameron or Tristan Sherry.
Oh. Can I phone a friend? Darcy Cameron or Tristan? Darcy Cameron. Darcy Cameron.
Harry Sheasel or Jason Horn-Francis.
No, that's easy.
Who?
She's.
Really?
Easy.
Squash your.
Easy.
That is the word.
That is the easiest one of the lot.
Oh my goodness! You're a damaged man. You're a damaged man.
You.
That is a.
What do you mean damaged?
You're a commentator
Shees.
who loves damage and scoreboard impact, and you've gone with the Shees.
Yep.
For his 5
I
score
love the
involvements
Shees.
a
Well,
game.
when the rising tide lifts all ships,
Okay.
and when the club comes good, you'll see the best of the Shees.
Connor Rosie or Chad Warner?
Whoa. Now that he's joined the halfback flankers union, I like him at halfback.
Good answer because he's joining us
Rosa.
shortly. Brad Scott or Alistair Clarkson?
Next question.
Brad Scott or Alistair Clarkson?
You know the answer to that. Clarko.
And Ben King or Nick Larkey? Pick one.
Nah, Nick Larkey.
Agree.
You'd love to play like Nick Larkey.
I love Nick Larkey.
Yeah.
I think he's a star. I was
Can
going
you-
to swear. I was going to swear then.
Were you going to?
Yeah, that's how,
a little
that's how
slip
loose,
up on it.
That's how loose we've been.
Oh.
Well, no, I've been to compliance. I got my dump button right here.
Oh,
I could
jingos.
have dumped myself.
Can I give you a project then for Monday?
I think we should do that segment regularly, and next time it'll be you
I'll do it.
posing the question.
I'll serve.
Yeah.
How many did you do?
And we
5?
need a name for it. Yeah, 5 or 6 I think is about right.
5 50-50s.
Yeah.
All right. So I want you on the weekend, you and your minions, to do the top 5 players of the last decade, and I want to challenge you to see if you can get going in there. I bet you don't.
So we're going from 2015 to 2025?
16
or are
to
we
25.
going 16 to 25.
All right.
All right.
I reckon
so
you'll
be the Bonts of the world, be the Lockie Neals of the world, be the
Dangers,
Cripps of the world,
Cripps.
be the Fifes.
Would Franklin be in there? So
So
there's a lot of choices.
a lot of choices.
So this is my point. I think the first one squeezed out is always Max Gawn.
Last week, was it a public holiday? Probably was. We would have been working because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
We do. We push on.
No one loves a dual invoice like us.
You had Andrew Walter in the gun, and I liked it because how many quarters had they won? One?
Had won one quarter, they'd lost 15 in a row.
And what happened?
And they performed.
They did.
I thought they were terrific.
Thought they were home.
Gave them a bit of love on first crack on Sunday. That was probably the first time you could say, well, you know what? the game plan is getting through. They look to play with some freedom and some express ball movement. Sold?
Yep, sold on that one. And I'm quite happy with mine as well.
North Melbourne's tweet.
Yeah.
Geez, you're hard on them.
North Melbourne
Gosh.
arrogantly sent out this tweet after they had the LDU
After you said that all leave.
signature where they
Mass
exodus. Where are they? Well,
they all signed and you still found a way to dip it
It'd be
on.
nice if they could get a kick. Signing is great.
Now they've got to get a kick.
Now they've actually got to perform. So I'm really happy with who I put
Ray.
in the gun is for Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace.
Who you got?
Well, this is just very small, minor, slightly petty.
No.
But I'm watching the NBA at the moment. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win the MVP, I think, or Jokic, be one of those two. And I looked up, I reckon he didn't start at OKC. So I looked up the trade for him. It's probably the worst sporting trade I've ever seen.
Right.
The Clippers sent SGA, Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps for Paul George. So you've got a future MVP, another decent role player, and 5 first-round picks for Paul George. That is the worst sporting trade I think I've ever seen. Now, NBA fans, you'll correct me if I'm wrong here because the Luka trade is also up there. Kobe Bryant trade, I think back in the day, was a disaster. But in the gun, the Clippers for sending that man and 5 first-round picks for Paul George. I'll give you a footy one shortly.
Sounds like a lot.
It's a lot.
I don't know
It's
a lot about the code.
Who you got in the gun?
It sounds like a lot.
You reckon?
Now, I touched on this last week, and it's tough when you're playing against Max Gawn. But Skinny Sean Darcy, if he can't hold his ground because he's lost all this weight and he's a different version of what he once was and he's not powerful and strong enough, what is he bringing?
I think that was my favourite opinion of yours for the year. And I've actually referenced it a couple of times on various shows. So Kingy reckons he's too skinny.
He's too skinny because he's now movable. Like he was the big immovable object.
Yep.
And then just do his tap stuff. If he's not doing his tap stuff, what's he bringing? He doesn't
hard
get
for me
possessions.
to be critical, which a few people have sort of pointed out when I've been so hard on player professional, how professional they are. So I'm not
I don't mind the heavier dudes. I'm a heavier dude operator, right? This is why we're opposites. Some guys just need to be who they are, right? And as soon as it's like they've cut Samson's hair off. Right? He doesn't have the same powers that he had. So I'm looking tonight, right? So I'm not going to judge him against Max Gawn because he's the best in the comp.
You'd be flying to Perth for that game, wouldn't you?
But tonight?
Yeah, they got you. Fox got you doing Anzac Day and then flying to Perth.
Oh, I'm on the boundary.
Get there
I'm on the boundary today in the rain. That's perfect.
And then they've got you on a plane to get to Perth before the first bet. You might get there by half time.
Back for tomorrow.
Back for 12 hours tomorrow.
So he gets Riley O'Brien tonight.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. So let's see if because I'm starting to think if Darcy can't do it in the ruck, well your discussion's over.
Well, because he can't play forward, which they tried to do, but he's not.
So he's ruck only for me, right? He's ruck only, and if he can't hold the ruck position,
they've got until 2030 to sort this out.
Yeah, well, his value somewhere else. He's still a commodity, but I'm just thinking in terms of Fremantle's campaign for 2025. This is a pretty significant night for Darcy, I think.
What did you make of the dropping of Liam Jones, as we're speaking about in the gun, from Bevo? Now, he hasn't been in great form, and every coach has the right to have selection integrity. So it's just an interesting week to do it, if you're going to do it, because you're taking on last year's Coleman medalist in Jesse Hogan. There's not a whole lot of other experience back there and not an obvious matchup for Hogan. So just, I don't know if it's in the gun, but it's a watch. If Hogan gets a hold of him,
I love it.
You like it? Of course you do.
Why?
Because you're a Bevo man. Anything he does. How Bevo this and how good's Bevo.
Did you see what Simon Goodwin did last week?
Yes, I did.
So I think the biggest tool you've got as a coach
which I just
is
said,
selection.
Which I just said.
I know. So why do you slant it?
Because
it's Bevo.
It is a watch when you've got Jesse Hogan back into the side and there isn't an obvious matchup for him. That's why it's a watch. It's definitely a talking point.
So you would prefer to play a player because of his magnet?
I would have played him
out of form,
for the structure
out
of the
form.
side.
You'd have played him out of form against one of the best forwards in the comp.
Yes, because the other options are Buslinger in his first game or Buku.
What about Rory?
Well, Rory can probably. How long have you seen since Rory's put his hand up and taken the best opposition key forward, or is he more of your drop off?
Well, it's normally Jones, but
interceptor?
Jones is going Shizen, so they've made the decision.
So it's a
I
talking
like
point.
it. It's brave.
Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out.
Well, we will. Yes, but I think the only way to really beat a full forward of this calibre is to deny the ball going down there. So I think
helps.
They'll do something a little bit different with their ball movement this week. I think they'll play with a bit more patience.
The Friday agenda is back for Signet. Stay powered 24/7 with Signet AFL Club Power Banks. What's on your agenda, Kingy?
Oh, just want to play a little bit of audio. Hayden Young did a little media conference.
One of your boys, isn't he, Hayden Young?
I love Hayden Young
too.
I love him. I love the way he plays. But just have a little listen to this. This alarm bells went off everywhere in the House of Damage at Fox Footy.
We were so consistent with our team day, and I think this year it just hasn't been the case, which is frustrating. But yeah, we want a game where it's 70 to 60 and it's low scoring and we win, and that was what we come to know to last year. And I think this year we've improved our ball movement, but sometimes it's come at the cost of our team day, so we've just got to find the balance.
70 to 60 is what they're looking for. Oh, come on, man! That was like 2010.
That's vanilla, isn't it?
That is the ultimate seeking of vanilla. They're chasing vanilla. That annoys me when I hear that. You got all the tools. Do you reckon that was part of the sell to get Bolton? Hey mate, we want you to come and help us kick 70 points.
You've got to kick 100. You really got to kick. You've got to kick 100.
They've gone 97, 108, 97, 106. Okay, they've lost one of those games. Like, leave the valves open. Like, they got to let this team express themselves. I'm getting really frustrated when I hear that language.
Concerned.
Well, I am. My boys.
Yes, your premiership favourites at Fremantle. I knew exactly what you were doing. I was onto you quicker than I've been onto anything.
That's not modern.
Setting them up to fail.
That is not the modern
and ever
landscape.
Since
it's
you've
not.
been bagging them.
No, I haven't. It's not the modern landscape to chase 70 points.
Credit to Todd Deviney for fronting up, because I'd been saying, where is the leadership at North? Why haven't they spoken? It's easy to speak during the good times. Where are you in the bad times? Todd was good enough to join our friends Gary and Tim on SEN Breakfast. Want to have a little bit of a listen to what he say in response to the criticism of Clarko.
He's had enormous distractions, unwarranted criticisms, judged unfairly.
The distractions are past him, according to Todd, and he's in a really good frame of mind and a really good headspace. Is it now time that can be put past Alistair Clarkson and we can't factor everything that he's been through recently at North Melbourne into the way that we're judging his performance as a coach? Or is that still relevant to the criticism of him? Because every time that comes up, Hodgie will say, oh, no, it's really only year two because the first year was disrupted, and Todd saying unfairly criticised and all of that. Can we now move past that?
Yeah, but I think you'll put a line through that year. You will void that
line
year.
Through the first year?
I think you will.
So this is year...
If you want to be 100% clean slate and fair, I think you just put a line through that year.
Yep.
So my answer would be, do you not agree?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
And it is great to hear from the Kangaroos.
It was terrific.
All you want to be as a Kangaroo member and fan is taken on the journey. Now, the journey hasn't been brilliant, but you just want to be part of it. So I love when you hear from, and I think it was Todd's discussion to have, not Sonia's, because he's in the footy department.
I didn't care who it was. I just wanted someone in a position of leadership, and Todd is as good as any, as you say, but to speak and to be in a format like that, long form, answer the hard questions, which he did. We'll see what happens.
But if you're going to talk to us, let's not flirt with the truth.
Well, it's a sophisticated thing, team defence. It's not only your back six. We understand that. It's our stoppage structure. It's the way we move the ball in offence. If we turn the ball over in the wrong spots, you'll get turned over, and it's hard to defend. So there's all multi levels of that. But to just look at the personnel in the back six, we think that's not our issue. We think it's a whole team defence.
That's not our issue. So I think, okay, all right, we're going to share the blame. Out. Aidan Core, Griffin Logue, and Zach Fisher injured. I don't think the selection match the conversation. So
No.
all I ask is that when you take us on the journey, that you don't flirt with the truth.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.